Alright, there we go. Hi y'all, so today we're gonna make balsamic glazed chicken and a Tuscan bean skillet. It's got white beans in there and kale. It's really good and really flavorful, so I hope you'll like it. Hi Debbie. Okay, let me get my computer up over here so I can see what's happening. Hi Murray. Hi Mary Esther. Okay, so we'll give people a few minutes to jump on before I start. Alright. There we go. Now I can see everything that's going on. And so yeah, this balsamic chicken is really easy to make. It doesn't take a lot of ingredients, but it really adds a nice sweetness, but also like a tangy flavor. It's really good. So, and this bean skillet is such an easy, it can even be a meal on its own. We actually sometimes eat it by itself. And so it's really delicious, easy kind of one pot meal with just some beans and veggies and stuff. So, hi Lisa. Alright, so I already have some chicken in the oven. For the sake of time, we'll go ahead and make our marinade for our chicken, and then we'll try the other one. So let's start with some balsamic vinegar. Add some of that to the bowl, and then we're going to add a little bit of maple syrup. You could also, this is just pure maple syrup, but you could do honey too. Honey would work just as good in here. And then we're going to add some spicy brown mustard or some Dijon mustard, just any mustard. And then we're going to add some thyme, a little bit of dried thyme. Wrong side. Add that. I'm not making the full batch of the chicken because I already have some of it in the oven. So for the full recipe, go over to the blog and the measurements will be there for the full recipe. And we're going to add salt and pepper. Some salt in there, and this is just to taste. Just salt and pepper is a really personal preference. So get that in there. And then we're going to whisk it up just until it's combined. Alright. And then we're going to add our chicken. So I have some chicken breasts in here. These are kind of small. You can also use chicken tenderloins. If you're going to use those, keep in mind it'll bake a little bit quicker. So your baking time will vary depending on what you use. I just have regular chicken breasts. Boneless, skinless chicken breasts. And you want to get it all coated. You could also do this in a Ziploc bag and like shake it up. That would work great. So I'm going to coat that in there, and you're going to leave it soaking in the remaining marinade. Cover it and let it soak for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to give my hands a quick wash. Alright. Now, after that has marinated for about 20 minutes, you're going to want to put it in a pan. I use a cast iron skillet. You can use just a baking dish, whatever. Put it in the pan, pour the remaining marinade in the bowl over top of it, and then put some water in the bottom of your pan so your pan doesn't dry out, and bake it at 425. Depending on how big they are, again, it'll take longer. If you're going to do tenderloins, it'll take about 25 minutes or so. Otherwise, just cook it until your chicken is cooked through about like 165 or so. And that'll vary depending on if they're big or smaller. So that's all you're going to do for that. Now let's head on over and make the bean skillet. Start working on that. Alright. Let me know if y'all can't see that. I hope you can. Okay, so we're going to turn on to about medium high heat or so. And then we're going to add beans. I'm using white beans. You can really use whatever kind of beans you want. Lots of different beans would work here. I've made it with black beans red beans. That combo is really good. But I'm gonna make it with white beans today. So these are just cooked beans. Again, I cook them in my Instant Pot because it's super easy. So we like to do them that way. You could also do canned. That would work just fine. But whatever you do, just drain the juice off of them because you don't want all that juice in here. So you're going to add that. And then you're going to add some tomato juice. This is just some tomato juice we have canned here. So you're going to add that in there. And stir that around. We're going to let that get going and get kind of warm. And go back up here and chop the rest of what we need. Alright, so we're going to add some tomatoes, and I'm just going to use 2 fresh tomatoes. You can use small ones. You'll just need a couple small ones. You could just use 1 big one. Whatever will work. And even if you just have baby ones, like little grape tomatoes or something, you could cut those in half and throw those in here, and that would be lovely. And I'm just going to dice this up pretty small. I mean, not too small. Kind of, whoops. Just into chunks. There we go. All right. And you could probably use some canned tomatoes here too, like canned diced tomatoes if you wanted. And if you wanted to use that, you could just leave out the tomato juice and just add in the whole can. And that would work great too. And fire roasted, if you were going to do canned, would add a delicious flavor. Hi Mikey, oh you're actually watching live today. Oh, I'm glad you can make it on live. And I know you wanted to see beef stew or a pot roast, so we're going to work on that. That'll be coming up real soon, so keep watching for that. Name of the dish. It's a Tuscan bean skillet, Debbie, and a balsamic glazed chicken. So there's my tomatoes, and I should have chopped my onion first, but I wasn't thinking right. So I'm going to chop my onion. I'm going to peel it. You just need 1 small onion. I just had a really large onion, so I'm going to use about half of it here today. And we're going to peel that up. Alright. Toss that in my scrap bowl. And I'm just going to mince it up. Or dice it up, I'm sorry. And if you like bigger chunks, you can do bigger chunks. If you like smaller chunks, do smaller chunks. Really, however you like your onions would be just fine. So I like to chop my onions this way. I keep the root intact and then make slices, but not all the way through. And it makes it really easy to dice up. All right. And if you don't like onions, you could leave it out, but they add a really nice flavor to the dish. And I'm just going to get those diced. And if you did want the flavor, some flavor, but you didn't want the chunks, you could do onion and garlic powder, but I prefer the fresh stuff. So chop that up. Ooh, this onion is kind of strong. Okay. And I'm just going to top mine up just a little bit finer. Alright, and I'm going to grab my food mover and throw those in with the beans. Alright, get that in there. in there, and I'm going to get my tomatoes in there. There we go. Hi, Wilk. Okay, those in there. And then I'm going to add my garlic as well. So I'm going to add about 4 cloves. I already got these peeled. Fresh garlic is what you need for this recipe. And again, you could use garlic powder, but I really like the fresh. I think it's so much better. What is that called? I'm using this, Murray, the food mover. This is a food mover, and you can just scoop it up really easily. It makes it really easy to move your vegetables over to your pot. If that's not what you're talking about, let me know. But it is really, really handy. Alright, get that minced up pretty fine. You need that, yeah, right? It's a bench scraper, and it's really nice for picking up your vegetables and just moving them over. So just look for a bench scraper. They're really, really handy to have on hand. Alright, get this minced up here. I like to mince it up pretty fine, but if you like bigger chunks, you can do that too. So it's totally up to you. And I'll bring bench scraper again and scrape all that up. Add that in there. And wipe my hands off. Now I'm going to stir this, get this going here. Alright. Get that stirred. Once you get it all in there, we're going to, you want to cover it. When am I going to open the restaurant? Oh, I don't know. Let's see, where's my, you need to cook this covered for about, probably around 15 minutes or so. So if you go ahead, and I actually kind of forgot to do this, but usually how I make it is I chop up the onions and the garlic, saute them and get them nice and soft, and then put my other ingredients in. So if you do that, you can saute it, or you can cook it for a little less time. And if you just put your onions in raw, you can just cook it for a little longer, and either way will work great. But you want to cover it and cook it for a little while. And then lastly, we're going to add in kale. When it gets almost done, we're going to add in our kale. So this is just chopped kale because it's all like a fine. Any kind of kale works because we're going to chop it up even smaller anyway. And this is 2 cups of some kale. I really love kale. It tastes so good, and it adds tons of nutrients to your food. So it's a really good, healthy dish too. So we're going to give that a rough chop. It doesn't have to be super fine. Bigger pieces are totally fine, but be sure that you remove all of your stems. So whether you're using kale that's on the stem, just get it off and chop it, or if you're using the bag that's already chopped, be sure and go back through and remove all your stems, because you don't want to, those aren't too tasty to find in your food. So chop that up, get that going. You're going to start doing your job and taste testing it as soon as you can. Yeah, well, as soon as this is over, come back up and taste all the recipes, Mikey. Okay, so get that going here. It's looking good. You could also use spinach here, and that would be good, but I really like kale. Alright, now let's check our chicken, which is already in the oven. And you just want to cook it to 160, so I'm going to go ahead and check the temperature. You can also do this with bone-in chicken too, and it would even be really good on a whole chicken. Obviously, you just need to adjust your cooking time. So, see, I think this one's almost done. It's been in the oven for a little while. I went ahead and prepped it so we could have one ready to try. And this is looking good. It's simmering nicely. We'll add our herbs to that in just a minute. Yeah, that is. Yep, that's just about ready. So as soon as we're ready, that will be ready to go. Put that back in the oven. And I'm making it at 425, so a pretty hot oven. Okay. And let's go ahead and go back over here and add in our spices to this. So to our bean skillet, we're gonna add, first we're gonna add salt and pepper, obviously, just to taste. If you like your food more salty, add a little more. It's totally up to you. And then we're gonna add in some black pepper and the herbs. So normally what I would use would be thyme and oregano, and that's what the recipe, how I have it written on the blog, calls for. But I don't have oregano today, so I'm going to use some dried thyme. Put that in there. And then I'm going to use some dried basil. I mean, any herb that you have on hand will work. So if you don't have oregano, if you don't have thyme, don't worry about it. Just throw whatever couple of herbs that you have in there. So just use what you got. It'll work and taste delicious either way. Stir that in. Smells so good. The herbs are so fragrant. They smell amazing. I wish you could smell it. There's tomatoes in there. It's a really yummy dish, and it could easily be like a one pot meal. We actually have ate this on its own before, but it's also good with stuff, so it's really whatever you want. So we're going to let that keep on cooking here, and you would let that cook for like I said, about anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. Now I'm going to serve this with some bread. So this is, I already have it baked and I'm just going to warm it in the oven. This is Irish soda bread, and the recipe is on the blog. It really goes really great with soups and stews and like roasts and like dishes like this bean dish. It's really great. You can sop it in there and eat it. So it's really great. It's a really great way to make bread because there's no yeast and it's super quick and easy. It's just a few ingredients. So it actually dates back to the 1800s when yeast wasn't really readily available. So it just uses baking soda, buttermilk, salt, and flour, and that's it. It's super easy. So I am going to put that back. My chicken's done, so I'm going to turn my oven down here to the warm setting. And I'm going to put this in the oven to warm back up. Scoot that chicken over. But it's a great bread to make for when you just want a quick bread to go with supper, because you can have it all done in about 40 minutes or so without having to worry about yeast or rising time or anything like that. So this is looking really good. It's simmering nicely. The juices are getting kind of like a pinky red color from the tomatoes, and it is looking really good. So I can't wait to eat it. This would also be great with like a cornbread if you didn't want to do the Irish soda bread. Cornbread would be great, or just some kind of piece of crusty bread. Like this would be great with a piece of the homemade bread that I already have on my blog. Just toast it up. It would be great with a slice of sourdough. Whatever you have or feel like making would be really good with a delicious slice of crusty bread. So just keep on letting this simmer here and cook. And like I said, I'm going to be getting to the beef stew recipe just as soon as I can get that up. And if you have any other suggestions, you can let me know in the comments. Just tell me what you'd like to see, and I'll try my best to get to it. So this is looking good, and I'm just going to let that simmer for a while. You don't really have to stand there and stir it. You can just kind of step away and let it do its thing. So that's pretty much it. I mean, this is super easy to make. It takes so few ingredients, just simple ingredients, but it really tastes good. We're going to add that kale in at the last minute because you don't want your kale to get overcooked. Kale cooks super fast, so you want to make sure that you just add that in at the last minute. And you can use any kind of beans here. Again, I've made it with a bunch of different kinds of beans. Black beans and red beans are really good together. White beans by themselves, or any combo, whatever you want and have on hand, works wonderfully here. So really just make it your own. The bread, don't want it to get too brown, we just want it to get warm. And I think it's time to add in my kale. So I'm going to grab my kale. Throw that in there. Look at that beautiful fresh kale. Beautiful. All right. And we're going to stir that in. And now at this point, you just want to cook it for just it's going to wilt down, I promise. It won't overflow. And you just want to cook it just until it's wilted. It'll just take 2 or 3 minutes. It won't take very long at all because kale cooks super fast. So, get that stirred in there so it'll all wilt. I'll turn down my heat just a little bit. You don't want to have it too high at this point. Stirring that in there. This is looking so colorful. It's got the bright red color from the tomatoes and it makes the juice kind of pink. We get the tomato juice in there and the bright fresh kale. It's a really colorful, fresh dish. Alright, stir that in there. And again, just a couple of minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes, and it'll be ready to go. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and grab my chicken out of the oven. Alright. Look at that. Looks beautiful. It's nice and brown. It makes the glaze creates a nice caramelization on the outside. And it's just really, really delicious. So you should definitely try it. On whatever kind of chicken you have, it would be delicious. So, alright, this is looking like it's about done. So we're about ready to plate everything up. I'm going to go ahead and turn my stove off. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. And then my chicken's done. So let's go ahead and get ready to plate everything up. Let's go back over here. There we go. Clean my board off here. All right. Now, let's go ahead and wipe this. I'm going to wipe this off with that. There we go. Now let's get this chicken out. Alright. Looks so good. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful chicken. Alright, that looks amazing. Get my knife. Ooh, that's hot. Let me get, hold it with the tongs there. Beautiful, juicy, oh, sorry about that. Juicy chicken, look at that. It's so juicy. It's got that awesome flavor on the outside, caramelized from a little bit of sweetness, but it still is going to have a nice tang from the balsamic and the mustard. Oh, it's so good. So let's move that over here. Alright, let's go over here. Let me bring the bread over here so I can cut it. Let me get my bread knife. It looks good. It smells really good, right? It is such an easy, delicious recipe. So now I'm going to cut my bread. This is such a nice, crusty, hearty bread. So delicious with things like this that have a little bit of soup to them, or like a roast, or a roast or a soup or a stew, anything like that. It's really great. We actually came across it on one of our fun school projects when we like to do food that was popular in the time period of history that we're learning about. So we come across this, and it's really easy and delicious. Oops, I didn't get that cut. There we go. Okay. Awesome. Looks so good. It's really great texture to it. And then we got that. So let me get a bowl. Where my bowl go? And I'm gonna grab a little bit of my bean skillet. Looks so good. Starts to thicken up. It's got those wonderful greens in it. Bright tomatoes. Look at that. It is delicious. And then I'm going to add my chicken. There we go. And my bread. And grab a fork because I can't wait to try this. Alright, let's try the bean skillet. It's really hot, but I can't wait to try it. So, just... so good. Really nice flavor. Love the kale in there. Delicious. Now let's try this. This is so good. It's got the nice sweetness with a little bit of tang. Caramelized on the outside. It is delicious. So, and I'm going to grab a little bit of bread. Stop it in the juice. So good. The bread is really delicious. The soup is, or the bean skillet is really flavorful, and this chicken is just delicious. So you all should really try out these easy recipes. They're so good, so fast, super easy. So the Irish soda bread is already up on the blog. You can head on over to the blog and get it. I'll also link it after the video is over. The chicken is also already up on the blog, so head on over and check that out. Please share this video so others can see it, and the Tuscan bean skillet will be up pretty soon. So, hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and have a blessed day. Bye!